I have rapped in a program I did, a Weird Weekends episode about rap.
Can you remember any of the rap that you did?
My money don't jiggle jiggle, it folds. I'd like to see you wiggle wiggle, for sure. Make me wanna dribble dribble, you know, riding in my Fiat. You
This is calling U.S. military aircraft. Please identify yourself. I am a United States military aircraft conducting lawful military activities outside national airspace.
Make it to space. Look what happens.
Our mission as the Civilian Space Exploration Team is to be the first civilian team in history to launch a rocket that reaches space.
All systems are go for launch. T-minus 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Sun is local to Earth and rotates around us in a geocentric fashion, as we observe.
Don't want you to know. 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 Don't want you to know.
What did that rocket hit? If there was a high amount of intense radiation up there, it would have scorched that mini rocket to pieces. There is no radiation above us, covering a globular spinning planet ball. It is a flat, stationary plane with a firmament above. And I know that you want to scream and say that does not prove anything. The rocket's engine could have failed. But take it easy. We are just getting started. You see, what they never told you in school is that every single civilization in our Earth's history knew that the Earth is flat and there existed a firmament above our heads. They were trying to tell us, and illustrations throughout the years have brought their conceptions of the world that we live in to life. Look. Only one is a satanic lie. Take another look at NASA's insignia. Did you not notice? Look at the ring around the planet, Saturn. And look closer at what they call the red chevron. Don't you think it looks like a split tongue? The tongue of the serpent? It almost resembles a letter T, which would give the organization's name an interesting anagram. But just a coincidence, I'm sure. And why does every single rocket that NASA supposedly sends up to space take the exact same path? Look. They aren't sending rockets into space. They reach a certain altitude and begin bending until traveling horizontally and landing in the ocean somewhere. They cannot go up and leave Earth's atmosphere and journey into space because there is no space. There is a firmament above. And they have been hiding it in plain sight the whole time.
Before we get into the details, it's extremely important that you have a full understanding of the construct of our geocentric electromagnetic universe. If you're not familiar with this geocentric model, we're going to leave links in the description for you to catch up on the basics. In short, we're not on a ball. Our Earth currently consists of 4 concentric rings of physical land, beginning and spiraling out from the 0-point axis at the center of the plane, just like a drop of water that falls into a larger body of water, therefore creating a ripple effect, beginning from its point of impact, concentrically expanding outwards. The very middle center of this vast earthly concentric plane is what's known as the 0-point axis. This is what we refer to as the magnetic North Pole. This central pole is not just a symbolical metaphor, but an actual physical marker, said to be a magical, or should I say, magnetic pillar, sometimes referred to as a holy mountain or the tree of life. The first big red pill you're gonna have to swallow is that beyond all these dimensional fields of energy from where we are now, in our northern and southern extremities, are other extraterrestrial lands, inhabited by other extraterrestrial civilizations. This is what we might call extraterrestrial outer and inner space, extraterrestrial outer and inner Earth. I know, it sounds crazy, just bear with me. Each of these 4-dimensional rings of Earth have their own eco, lunar, solar systems and seasons, and their own sun and moons, which would be our current 7 wandering stars. Saturn and Jupiter being the solar sun and lunar moon of the outermost ring, domain or realm of Earth. Mars and Venus being the solar sun and lunar moon of the next concentric domain of Earth inside that. This Mars and Venus domain would be the main realm beyond our southern Antarctic boundary and the Aurora Australis electromagnetic field. Then, of course, we have our own solar sun, Apollo, and lunar moon, Artemis, in this domain. And last but not least, Mercury, within the inner central realm beyond our northern Arctic boundary and Aurora Borealis electromagnetic field. This inner star, Mercury, is androgynous, both a solar sun and lunar moon in one. It's sometimes referred to as the inner Earth Sun or Black Sun or Planet Nibiru or Planet X. Now, the full expanse of our entire earthly plane with all the different realms would be what the ancient Greeks referred to as Mother Gaia, the Kemetic Egyptians called the Benben or Mother Geb, and the Indo-Vedics referred to as the Bhumandala. In this presentation, we're going to explain and show how the spiral expansion of space, time, and matter began and continues to be. Let's go. This calendar is a modern interpretation and mix of the Aztec Mayan calendar, Egyptian dendra stone, the various Chinese and Indian dharma wheels, as well as other ancient cosmological and universal clocks and calendars. Many ancient cultures, civilizations, mystics, and researchers have created and depicted various cosmic clocks and calendars over the ages. Some simple, others complex, but one thing is for sure. They all knew that all time operates in a cyclical pattern. They knew that everything in existence has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Birth, experience, growth, and death. Sunrise, midday, sunset, midnight. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. Iron, bronze, silver, gold. You get it. So our cosmic calendar of time is a macrocosmic and syncretic mirror reflection of those observable microcosmic clocks, calendars, cycles, and seasons of time. And as always, our research is embedded on the foundation of natural and observable everyday reality. Hopefully by the end of this presentation, you will have a better understanding of how different ages, races, civilizations, and realms have come about over time within our electromagnetic cosmic egg universe. So in order to understand our
When I walked in the club, everything changed when I walked in the club. He was looking at me like, wow, the aura on my body, I drip and I drown. So he says, I heard you're a sick.
Wow. We can also use military science and geometry to determine the sun's actual distance. And a lot of this information is out there, but you have to really search. It's in a lot of different little corners on the internet and in books. But we can use the sun by measuring direct sun angle, get down our timing to determine what we're really living on, what the surface shape of the Earth is, and the sun's actual distance between 3,000 or 4,000 miles, whether it's a physical or projected object. Right now it seems to be a projected object. And one thing I want you to remember, and that is the sun is always 90 degrees to a person, place, or thing every second of every minute of every day of every year within the prime meridian zone. Once you fully understand that, that is the end of heliocentrism.
Birmingham Station is only 240 feet above sea level. If the world were actually a globe, however, curving 8 inches per mile squared, the 180-mile stretch of rail would form an arc, with the center point at Birmingham raised over a mile, a full 5,400 feet above London and Liverpool. 11. A surveyor and engineer of 30 years, published in the Birmingham Weekly Mercury, stated, "I am thoroughly acquainted with the theory and practice of civil engineering. However bigoted some of our professors may be in the theory of surveying, according to the prescribed rules, yet it is well known amongst us that such theoretical measurements are incapable of any practical illustration."
They have so many pictures of the Earth. Look it up. You mean these?
This is live on the air, okay? I'm going to zoom in on the Earth in Photoshop. You see the Earth? Yep. Okay, I'm going to go to Image, Adjust, Levels, and I'm going to bring the levels over here. And I'm going to bring the levels up. Uh-oh. What is that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wow. Why is there a square box around the Earth allegedly taken from the scientists on the moon in Apollo 17? And people wonder why I don't trust NASA. That's why I don't trust NASA. I mean, they're always out there saying, you know, Rob, everybody's trying to show you stuff from space and you keep rejecting it. This is why I reject it. These guys are liars. So you're telling me that we can take pictures of Jupiter and Saturn, huge, massive planets, and now we're out going to Pluto, but we don't have one legitimate picture of the Earth from space? It's not a composite? Really?
There are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of truth's protective layers.
I want to talk about flat Earth. And I notice things like when you search it in a search engine, all you get is misinformation. You don't even get real critical thought on it. Well, I saw the blanket censorship, which tells me there's truth to it. It tells me that they're panicking. They're in panic mode, and they don't want us to have real tangible information. More importantly, they don't want you to think critically about it. See, we're in the information age, and this is what the tactic is. This is why Logan Paul just did a video on flat Earth. It's why Shane Dawson just did a series of videos. It's to discredit the real truth. It tells me that there's something here that they don't want you to know. It tells me that mainstream science, NASA, and more importantly, our government powers are panicking. Government powers are panicking. Don't want you to know. Government powers are panicking. So they're hiring through the same companies that they own, because there's only 6 companies, by the way. If it's a wild conspiracy theory, why do they need to discredit it? If it's a wild conspiracy theory and it isn't the truth, and no one's going to believe it because they're smart enough to think on their own, why do they need to discredit it? Why do they need, and these same people, keep in mind, Logan Paul, Disney is the parent company. I'm pretty sure he gets a check from Walt Disney. Don't want you to know. Why would they then put out these misinformation campaigns? I mean, ask yourself these logical questions. I think we know the answer, and I think we know the reason. Here that they don't want you to know. Is it possible that we're living in that Truman Show today? We're living on the flat Earth with the dome, the firmament. As we start to look around us, we start to wake up, our eyes open, maybe that third eye opens, we start to understand, wow, this isn't what I thought it was. Maybe instead of being a worthless blob of goo that came from nothing and then developing into apes that were oohing and ahhing and then eating bananas like a bunch of idiots, maybe instead of that, we actually are the center of the universe. Maybe we are special. In fact, maybe there is unbelievable evidence of creation. But the government has decided to hide that from you. Why? Why is there so much misinformation? Why is there a giant disinformation campaign going on right now when it comes to things like flat Earth? Are my eyes lying to me? Or can I trust what I'm actually seeing? But Christopher, the Earth is a globe. I was told that when I was 1 year old. They said, look, this is a globe. Isn't it interesting? It's one of the first things that you're actually taught. The Earth isn't flat, it's a globe. Even though for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years, they thought that the Earth was flat. Oh, but Christopher, we have all these images of outer space that show that the Earth is a sphere. Really? Where do the images come from? NASA. Oh, you mean the same NASA that is our government, our secretive breakaway government that hasn't been back to the moon since the 1960s. That NASA? Have you ever seen it with your own eyes? How come none of the electronics account for curvature of the Earth when you're flying a plane? None of the engineering of bridges and train tracks, buildings, all kinds of infrastructure that goes for miles and hundreds and maybe thousands of miles, none of it accounts for, in its actual engineering blueprints, for the curvature of the Earth. I mean, if I was building a giant bridge with hundreds of miles, wouldn't I have to account for the curve? Or is it possible there's not a curve, and that we've been lied to for a reason?
I flew in Concorde, and I was lucky enough to fly in Concorde, and you get up to 65,000 feet, and I could see the curvature of the Earth. That was proof to me. Wow. How come that wasn't true?
And yet I could show you weather balloon footage from 120,000 feet, and it's absolutely tabletop flat. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, the world's most famous scientist, no offense to Brian Cox, he'll come out and tell you, no civilian will ever be able to see the curvature of the Earth. Because
so is he lying?
No, I'm not saying that you're lying. I'm saying that you wanted to see the curvature. There's a big difference.
But don't you want to believe that it's flat? You have no proof. I have more proof than you do.
I would challenge that.
Well, I've got footage here that's direct from the space station, and that's live pictures from the space station now.
Right.
That's all a lie.
Again, started from the American military. Yes, absolutely. I'm saying it's worse than that.
So what is that then? What am I looking at if I'm not looking at live pictures?
You're looking at CGI, nothing more. Something that started out very simple back in the 1950s and advanced till today.
Chapter 24 of Terra Infinita, the story told by the woman who was born in the lands behind the ice walls. The destruction of the great cities, the fall of an empire. The great cities were invaded by black smoke. The giants brought technology and taught humans in Tartary. The level of technology that was used at the time had never reached the hands of humans. It was a difficult process, but they were achieving really great things. Just the Great War came by surprise. Although they expected it, and they did not think it would come so fast, then came the Great Flood and different attacks. There came a time when we knew that all was lost. The custodians were weakened, and those in power, the Greys, who were their lackeys, could not cope with the power of the Anakim, the giants who helped the humans with their technology. There are several races of giants, and not all of them joined in this war. In fact, many of them split later because they did not agree to help. They saw it as a certain defeat. At that time, the hope of being able to defeat them was latent, and that filled the spirit of any person who lived on this soil. The feeling that generates to be finally free is priceless, and sometimes that dimension of what is taking place is not taken into account. That war was the cruelest that has happened here. It has also brought with it a great retaliation and a reset and a different beginning that is being carried out at this moment. The system that oppresses you and turns you into a robot with mere biological functions, the spiritual emptying, how your mind is controlled, which does not stop for a second to give you messages and messages so that you cannot enjoy the present. All this is a product of that custodial fear of losing your best colony. Unfortunately, the ancestors that carry that, and the giants too, for that and for many other reasons, different plans are being carried out to free you and end once and for all this macabre system under which you live. Many will ask, how is it that we can give all this valuable information and at the same time dangerous information if it falls into the wrong hands? Your answer is that we can give this kind of information because the majority simply will not believe it. And what we say here today will be forgotten by the majority tomorrow. It's like when someone has some kind of different experience with whatever race, or for example, the story about my father and the lands where I was born. But it's different if the government of this world, with all the mass broadcasting apparatuses, tell a lie. For example, that the sky you see every day is pink, and then many will come out to repeat and even fight to the death with anyone who says that the sky does not have that color. Even more, if important scientists who have graduated from distinguished universities come out to say that anyone who argues that the sky is pink will be labeled as ignorant forever and possibly affect him all of his life, then you already have two things against you: the immense power of the world, of the great media that are controlled and enter every home around the world, and also you have the word of confidence, in quotation marks, of the great scientists of the best universities that will give the necessary strength to submerge the majority to a lie that will be taken as absolute truth. Soon, nobody will even discuss about this subject for fear of being cataloged as ignorant. Some will not even want to look at the sky for fear that their own mind will tell them that it does not have the color that they say. A few others will fight against this lie without caring that they are told, or that they will be ostracized from many places, or that they will not even be allowed to talk about this subject with a simple censorship. This is nothing new to you. Look around you right now. This is what is happening. If you do not do or say what they impose, or simply what the media reports, or what the distinguished expose, then you will be labeled as someone who is the opposite side of progress, advancement, or development of humanity, with many quotation marks. Possibly, you will be ridiculed, attacked, sidelined, branded as a traitor, or many other things. This is certainly unfair. The shadow-controlling parasites who want total human degradation is in conjunction with a spiritual hollowing out can label with their great means of influence and coercion and thereby destroy them completely. And that is why we keep coming back to these lands and will continue to be here to fight against this dangerous conditioning they exert.
People time to wake up and realize we are being played like a deck of cards.
The world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
Power of the system we live in is to make people believe things that are so ridiculous on the face of it, but they've been told it over and over and over since the day they were born that they can't question it anymore. Many of the things, like the sun is a good example. For someone to say the sun's a hell of a lot closer to us than 93 million miles, the average person's going to roll their eyes. This is the system protecting itself in the lie that we have been constructed into. A lot of people will go at this and say, well, why did we get lied to? Well, you can think of basic reasons, like to deny someone the knowledge of knowing where they exist. That deprives a human being of almost everything. To not even understand where you exist denies you really much ability to know where you're going to go, where you've come from, the things that are even possible in this place, because you don't even know what this place is.
You're saying that after a Big Bang, even with the law of thermodynamics called entropy, which we'll get to in a second, somehow our galaxy ended up being a perfectly flat plane? Not just is the solar system a flat plane, the entire Milky Way galaxy is a flat plane, where all the planets spin in the same direction. The odds of that are less than winning the Mega Lotto every single day for thousands of years. Now look at the moon. The moon is a perfect circle. The odds that happened after Big Bang and just chaos of atoms and particles and dust and rocks colliding is zero. The odds are literally zero. There's no force, there's no wind, there's no erosion, there's no water, there's no force acting upon that moon that would make it a perfect sphere. The odds that the spin of the moon is exactly the same speed as it rotates around the Earth, again, are zero. If it was 1/4 of 1 mile per hour different, it would slowly turn. And there is zero physics explanations with the model of gravity as we know it to explain why its axis rotation is exactly matching it rotate around us so that we only see one side. Light being shined upon a sphere does not make the luminescence the same all the way across. You can do a test with a tennis ball and a flashlight. It's impossible. It can't happen. it only happens on two-dimensional objects. Seeing as you've only seen one side of the moon because of its miraculous rotation and its perfect circle, and the fact that the luminescence is the same across the whole thing, implies, I'm not stating this, it implies it's a two-dimensional object. Okay? The size and weight of the moon, according to science, it is impossible for it to be rotating around our Earth. The way the moon was created according to mainstream science is that an object the size of Mars hit Earth and created the moon. That's nonsense. We would have rings like Saturn. Where's all the dust? Where's all the debris? Where's everything? That all just disappeared? That makes no sense at all. Next up, the sun is 400 times bigger and miraculously 400 times farther away than the moon. And like two machine-cut quarters, they line up perfectly to make an eclipse. The odds of that are 1 in trillions times 1 in trillions times 1 in trillions. It's not possible. That the perfect circles in this world line up perfectly with something 400 times larger from a third factor, which is your fixed position on an Earth, that they claim is spinning 1,000 miles an hour. The shadow of the eclipse is 70 miles wide. There is no way to make a shadow smaller than the object. Of course, there are people that say umbra, because like goats, they've been trained to say that, but they cannot recreate an umbra on Earth. They only believe it because they've been indoctrinated to believe it since the time of their birth by people who want to remove their connection to God.
Science is a bit of a religion now. When you come into a scientific group and you challenge NASA, they're not going to talk to you. They're just going to call you a silly man and ignore everything you say. Well, see, this is the programming of science doing this. Science should be dictating that anything we can question should be questioned, and yet this is not what we see.
The law of entropy is that matter and energy naturally go from order to chaos. If you break a glass, even after 1 billion years, the broken shards will not reform into the glass because objects have a tendency towards entropy, towards dissolving, towards breaking apart. So how do we have a human eyeball from a Big Bang? The Big Bang happens and it creates a never-ending waterfall, cascade, domino effect of atoms smashing against each other in an empty darkness for eternity. So given the law of entropy that things go from order to chaos, how on earth do we have the structure of a human eyeball in which we can see light and then recreate the light in our minds as images that represent our physical reality? It contradicts to a point of laughable mockery.
Ready and action.
Altitude's a little high.
I think it's been almost 10 years since you've been trying to do this. Pitch forward, get a really good view.
So you're looking great. Coming up 9 minutes. Roger, understand. Go for landing. 3,000 feet.
Peter has put a mark back there where he wants it to land.
What's it look like? 5.5 pounds.
It's a tire. It's
Nine
something.
forward. Forward.
Is a good spot good to know? Yeah, that is.
Yeah, command override off. Engine arm on.
We're home.
413 is in.
Man on the moon.
Okay.
And action. What do you think?
Well, it's not a good idea, but what were you going to do?
And action. Ready, and turn.
Right now, Jim, that was better.
The third seat. Okay. Cut the third.
Any other call?
tail sight coming up right now.
Right now, Jim, that was better.
I ain't delusional, I ain't got paranoia, G. But everyone is sleeping when I'm speaking, it's annoying me. I'm gonna go online and book a flight and pack my bag. And when I do, I'm hiding DMT inside my toiletries. Cali packs expensive like lawyer fees. Fuck the government, they're causing loads of oil leaks. Fuck the HMRC and fuck the royalty. They're taxing me and taking nearly half of all my royalties. When I wake up, I blaze up, all the way till the evening. I close my eyes and focus and I'm levitating and leaving. I practice tantric sex, I'm medicating and breathing. Herb is medicine, it's medication and healing. Every single person talking truth, they wanna section him. Truth is stranger than fiction, every single thing I'm questioning. The powers to be, they're rotting away, I can smell them festering. The government are like atoms, they make up everything. I'm gonna pack my suitcase, fly away to a new place. I'm taking a trip, but I'm not falling over my shoelace. My music makes them screw face, I'm blazing lemon and blue haze. I'm eating fruitcake, there's no fluoride in my toothpaste. I face my biggest fear, 2020 my vision's clear. It's plain to see that we don't live on no...
This beauty is the ER-2 high-altitude research plane. It's NASA's science variant of the U-2 spy plane.
Secret reconnaissance of Russia by high-flying American U-2 jets.
NASA's using it to keep an eye on the Earth, the oceans, and the atmosphere from as high as 70,000 feet.
Views are beautiful. There's no weather. You see the curvature of the Earth as you scan the horizon.
At that height, you don't see the curvature of the Earth if you are 2 millimeters above this beach ball. You just don't. That stuff is flat.
That vantage makes the ER-2 the perfect tool for capturing data with greater detail than a satellite. It's been used to study hurricanes, cosmic dust, and methane leaks. The ER-2 is made for long-distance, long-duration hauls. Gross has flown for as long as 13 hours, while the scientific instruments installed on the plane gather data.
I mean, Rick, look at that. Train. Not the only pet driving on also the plane. Now imagine if you had add-ons on the bottom of that. From a distance, it could look like this. Maybe there's some sort of image projection device that's underneath it, to give illusions of the solar panels. And obviously, we can look at the sheer size of this aircraft. The shots, stick a camera up there so you can see them. And it kind of got me thinking. I thought, NASA, they probably used the U-2 spy plane. And then, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe this when I came across this. Look at that. How about that for a smoking gun? And here's a pic of one flying through some sort of an officer. This is just absolutely crazy, people. Absolutely crazy. And let me just remind you again. Look at the picture of the ISS. That looks like it could have been possibly been written to look like a space station.
Mainstream narrative of why the sun sets is because we're on a ball, right? We are falling backwards, eastward, 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, on average, every other place, 700 miles per hour in the America, other places like that, you know what I'm saying? You get the point. We're falling backwards eastward. That's why the sun sets. It's then obfuscated by the curvature of the Earth. They're claiming all these oceans are curving over a ball. Quadrillions of gallons of water. That's not the point. That's not what I'm trying to get at today. This is what happens. So you can't see the sun anymore, apparently, because the sun goes down here and then fall backwards until we can see it again, okay? You get what I'm getting at. Then, can somebody explain why the sun doesn't continue to set in this video and why it seems to just kind of disappear into the soup of the atmosphere? Because The atmosphere is actually opaque, and the sun eventually gets to a point where it can't push through anymore. Seriously, I've been seeing a lot of people getting hung up on the fact that the sun sets, dude. We can't see it anymore. That doesn't work on a flat earth model. We should be able to see it forever. No, again, study the word opaque in general. Just try to understand it. Light doesn't travel forever. The sun simply moves away from the viewer into the vanishing point, creating the illusion that it is moving down, setting/rising. Like these light posts, for example. As they get farther away, they're all the same size, they'll eventually converge with the horizon. If they kept going, you wouldn't be able to see all of them forever. This is just how perspective works on level surfaces. The sky ramps down, the ground ramps up to create a vanishing point. And you can zoom and expand this and see more. Thank heavens I've been accumulating all of these photos to prove that the Earth is a level surface over this time, for example. But dude, the sun is local and it's getting farther away. It would get smaller. Like, change size. Oh, that's weird. Great advice right here. Research flat Earth. It's me or these guys. It's me or these guys. There's no other choice. Yeah. You see that? That's duct tape. Subsonic, supersonic, Masonic. You may ask, why is this guy bringing that up? You don't remember this? Seriously, something's going on here, guys. Share this video. Get it out to people. I'm shadow banned right now. I don't even hit the For You page anymore, but check out my podcast. If you want to hear more of my thoughts, check out my link tree. This is insane. No way.
This is the only photo of Earth as shot by the Apollo 13 mission. Every other image you see of Earth is a CGI manipulated image. Open your eyes and mine. Wake up. We are being lied to.
Earth does not curve and is completely motionless. The sun is local to Earth and rotates around us in a geocentric fashion, as we observe.
Don't want you to know. 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 Government powers are panicking.